right, we are on, Mr. Howard. We are on the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. I am your host, Mark Ross, and with me this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me Mr. Howard Berg. He is the founder of Howard Stephen Berg Learning Systems, LLC. Good to have you on, Mr. Howard Berg. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome, and thank you for coming on. Before we get started talking about your LLC, talk to me about what led you down the path to establish your company.
Well, I'm the world's fastest reader. I'm the Guinness World Record holder for reading 80 pages a minute. So I started the company as a way of sharing with people around the world strategies that I've developed. I've done a lot of live programs. I trained the Royal Thai Army in Bangkok, the U.S. Special Forces at Fort Bragg, several hundred colleges, universities, corporations, and so on. But the company is set up as a learning company to share with other people what I've learned to help them succeed in their information-rich world.
What in particular, what got you involved in speed reading?
I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. It was like West Side Story without the dancing and music. I met the motto, he had a knife. This is real. I had
Yeah.
knives in my throat. Was beaten with bats. My dad was pistol whipped. It
Oh
was a
my
tough
goodness.
neighborhood. However, there was one safe place, the library. For some reason, gang kids would rather be dead than caught in a library. It's sort of like vampires in churches. So I went there a lot because in a library, the worst thing that could happen is a paper cut. And outside the library, the cuts were much more deeper and serious.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time reading at college reading when I was 11. I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton when I was 17 to major in biology. In the second half of my junior year, I got interested in learning and the brain. So I told the dean I also want to major in psychology. And he looked at me and said, "You have 1 year left. You haven't had one psych course. We'll have to do a 4 year psych program in 1 year and finish the bio program." And I had to take 6 science courses with 2 4-hour labs. And to make it interesting, I was working 18 hours a week part time. He said, "You're not smart enough." And that's
Mm,
when I realized they never taught learning in school. They tell you what to learn, they tell you why to learn, they tell you what happens when you don't learn, but not why you hear a song on the radio once. You never forget it. You read the 7 habits of highly effective people, and the next day you don't know any habits, and you forgot the name of the guy writing the book. And there's
mhm.
got to be a way to learn things that matter the way we learn songs. And I got up to 80 pages a minute. I did the 4 year program in 1 year, and I prepared for the GRE. Took an SAT for graduate school. In biology, I read 48 books in 3 nights, like biochemistry, genetics, cell physiology, plant systematics, not the lightest reading. And I got an 800, which was in the 99th percentile in the world. So it wasn't just that I was reading quickly, but I was retaining it at a super high level and performing on standardized tests to demonstrate it. And then I started a school, and we'll talk about that during the interview. And you
Sure.
can see how it's helping young people and adults around the world. And that's
Sure.
how I got started.
Nice, nice. Now, uh, the podcast centers around mental health and wellness. From a mental health standpoint, how can you help someone benefit from your services?
Because I had 3 jobs and worked 18 hours a week, plus did 6 science courses. I wasn't feeling well at the end of that year. My
I'm
mental
sure.
health was in the gutter. I was burnt out. I
Right.
had I was studying like 16, 17 hours a day. I had no social life. I was either in class, in lab, working, or studying. There was no other time. For a year, that's all I did.
Mhm.
7 days a week. That doesn't go down well when you're a kid. I was only 20 years old, 21 years old.
You're a
And
young guy.
So I had some severe challenges and I learned how to overcome them. I could talk about that today. How do you eliminate a negative emotional state? Anxiety, fear, depression. I could actually show your listeners how that can be done specifically, step by step, with very high likelihood of success, if you'd like.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. That's cool because I, I I am going to get into the educational aspect of this because um, it is something serious, and I do think that uh, a lot of people don't take their education as serious as they should, and to even go further, I don't think that people look at education as something that I think that people look at education, look, in particular the high schoolers, they look at that as a waste of time. So,
Well, with AI predicted to eliminate at least 30% of all the white collar jobs in the next 10 years. The only thing between being unemployed and having a job or being able to support yourself is between your ears. It's what you know. People who will be successful are people who can learn and quickly develop new skills that do have an ability to be marketed. And those that don't will be sitting back wondering, what am I supposed to do?
mm,
I'll give a good example. For
hmm,
many years, Sears and J.C. Penney were superstars in the mall. I mean, they were making a fortune.
yes, they were.
And now they're both bankrupt. And
Mm,
the reason they're bankrupt, and this is the interesting story, Jeff Bezos is basically using their model. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, as the American West was settled, they had catalogs. And in areas where there were a lot of stores out west that were just developing communities, people needed things. So they used the J.C. Penney and the Sears catalog, and they would ship it by train and Wells Fargo, and they made a fortune. Well, J.C. Penney and Sears had the model. They had the catalog, they had the products. They canceled their catalogs, and Jeff Bezos put it online.
right.
The Amazon is a Sears and J.C. Penney catalog in the 21st century. Yes, he has a very good delivery system. They didn't. But when you really look at what he's doing, it's an online catalog. They could have done that, but no one had the insight to say, why don't we take this into the 21st century? He did. And he's the second richest man in the world
In the
using
world.
their business model. This is a good example of the difference between having a bright mind that sees opportunity and where a lot of people are like, what's happening? Why can't I be like that? Why don't I have the kind of success other people are having? It's very simple. You don't have the right skills. You don't work more hours to make more money.
Hmm.
Taxed higher and you end up keeping very little. You don't make more money working more jobs or working more hours. The way you make more money is you do something that pays better. You go from being a dishwasher to being a neurosurgeon, you'll see a big jump in your pay. So,
Absolutely.
so what people
Absolutely.
need to learn is if they learn the skills that enable successful people to be successful, and they write books on how to do it, they could be successful also. But what they do instead is they feel sorry for themselves. They watch television. A lot of them spend, think how many hours people spend watching ball games. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't enjoy themselves, but what if you use that same time to learn how to be smarter and make more money and learn skills that would benefit you? And then you watch a game because you have more money.
Mm-hmm.
It's your time. You get 24 hours in a day. If you want to sit in front of a TV and watch other people have a life, that's a choice.
Yes.
If you want to learn a skill where you can become smarter and learn new things that can produce higher income, that's another choice. Which choice do you think will benefit them and their families more? Unfortunately, a lot of people are making the wrong choice and their lives reflect it. And it's going to get worse, not better, as AI takes more and more jobs away. So I'm
Mm.
here to say that doesn't mean it has to be you. You can change that by learning to be smarter. In fact, I have a free book, howiebook.fun. This is not a pay thing. howiebook.fun. howiebook.fun on some of the mistakes people make when they're learning. And I'm trying to share this with people to help them become better at learning. That's the least I can do is give them something that they could start with.
It's called howiebook.
Book.fun.
HOWIE. I'm book
howiebook.fun.
dot fun.
Easy, easy.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it's a
Now,
gift.
well, cool. I'll look for that. But let's in the same vein of the educational aspect of things, Howard. How can we get our young people to change gears? Because, like you said, we're. It seems as though a lot of our youngsters. I'm not going to say youngsters because that's just aging ourselves. But young adults, high schoolers, the 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 enticement is just not there as much as it was in terms of seeking higher education, in terms of obtaining some knowledge of and some skills. Uh, and you mentioned the social media piece too, Howard. We see more people doing things, acting in in ridiculous manners and whatnot, just to get a click. We have all this clickbait now, and people are doing ridiculous things just to get it. How can we turn the tides of that?
Well, I taught for 10 years in New York. My job interview was teachers get killed here. Do you want the job? And in 10 years, 4 teachers went out on stretchers. One was in a coma, and 2% graduated. So I
Mm,
told the principal I could teach them how to learn. And he said, that's not in the curriculum. You can't do that. All right,
mm,
he's the principal. I mean, got a 98% failure rate. How can I ruin those numbers? So I'm teaching biology, and one of my students says, I can't do the homework. I don't know how to find the answers in the book, the bio
mm,
book, in the bio class that I'm teaching. So I'm showing him how to find the answers to the homework that I'm giving him in the bio book. And the principal walks in. He says, what are you doing? I said, he asked me to help him. He's having trouble doing the homework in the bio book. There's a bio class, and it's a bio book. He asked me to show him how to do this. He said, I told you not to teach learning. You're not working. And he wrote down that I wasn't doing my job as a teacher because I was teaching him how to learn and not just teaching biology. And I'm like, I'm leaving here. I quit after that. I
what?
couldn't look at myself in a mirror. I'm trying to help this young person be more successful, and they're penalizing me for answering the question in the book that I gave him in the subject that I'm teaching. And that's not my job. I had a young man that was reading a book upside down and backwards. So I went to the dean of guidance. I said, I have a student, I think he's illiterate. They said, that's Mohammed. He came here from Afghanistan. He's never been to school. I says, well, he's here every day. Maybe you could help him get a tutor, show him how to
Mm,
learn, how to
hmm.
read. He's trying.
Right.
Um, well, if he comes every day, we're getting paid, and he'll be 21 in a few more months, and we'll throw him out. So don't worry about it. I says, well, you got a few more months to work with
Just like,
him. He's here
just like
every
that.
day and he needs help.
Yeah.
Don't you tell me how to do my job. That was the job. You're the dean of guidance, and here's a young man that needs guidance, and I'm asking
Exactly.
you to help him, and you're getting angry at me for asking you to provide him with the service you're being paid to provide. That's school. That's what I saw for 10 years. So I started my own school. Let me show you what happened. I'll just give you 3 examples.
Yeah.
Stephen Terry graduates UT, University of Texas Arlington, 16. He finishes college, 16. How did he do? All A's. And a major in economics. He goes to OU at 18 for a master's, not a bachelor's, in math. That's a tough math major.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
graduates at 19, all A's, 1B. They paid him $27,000 when he was 18 to teach math. Gave him free room and board, books, and tuition. He's now a professor at Yale. Justin Brummett, normal kid, C student at 11, not a genius, normal person. Taught him how to learn. Finished high school at 15, got his associate's degree at 17, his BA at 19, master's in English at 21, English professor at 22. Would
Mm.
you have predicted An 11-year-old C student would be a college English professor at 22. Or how
Yes.
about Micah? Micah passed the bar in California at 19. His sister's 15, youngest person to ever pass the bar in California when she finishes law school. His other brother's 17, second-year law student. His other brother's 22, a pilot for Southwest and an attorney. All using what I'm going to share with our listeners today. So
Right.
there is a way to
All right.
learn faster. There is a way to understand, and it isn't hard. It is easy. And I'm going to start sharing some of those things with your listeners. But
Please
first,
do.
I'd like to show them how to get rid of depression and anxiety and some of the, because that's the theme of your show. And if
Yes.
like, I could actually give them a strategy for getting in a healthier mindset if you'll give me permission.
Sure. Go for it. I was going to ask you that anyway.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
When most people are anxious or depressed, they say to themselves, I'm not anxious. I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. I'm not. Here's the problem. Your unconscious brain does not recognize negative words. Let me give an example. I'm going to control your mind and everyone listening right now. Don't think of Mickey Mouse eating a pizza. And the first thing that popped in your mind was a picture of Mickey Mouse eating a
Eating
pizza.
a pizza.
So when you say, I'm not nervous, you got nervouser. I'm not depressed, you got more depressed. That's not how you fix it. You can't stop a negative state. What you can do is create the opposite state that you want. So instead of thinking, I'm not depressed, you think, I feel wonderful, even though you don't. I feel happy and wonderful, and I look forward to every day of my life. You see it, you visualize it, you experience it. There's no negative things in the world, they're in our head. Your brain created the state that makes you feel bad. Your brain can create the other state that makes you feel good. You get a choice. You think the things that make you depressed, you'll be depressed. If you think the things that make you happy, you get happy. And what happens is when you stop thinking about being depressed or anxious, it goes away because it was not there to begin with. It only existed while you thought about it. Now it doesn't happen like click your heels together in your home. It takes a little time. But if
Mm-hmm.
every day every time you begin to feel a negative state coming, you start thinking the opposite, the state you want, create that, vivify it, give it life. And the more you bring that to life, the other state disappears because nobody's thinking about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the secret to getting rid of fear and depression and anxiety. You create, you created that state. So you're very good at creating states. Now you're creating the other state, which is the one you
Right.
actually would rather have. And you
Right.
have a choice. Which one would you rather have? You pick.
And you also you're breaking uh negative cycles.
Yes.
Yeah. And
But you
triggers.
can't fight it. The more you say I'm not, the more you will be. That's
Yeah.
not how you get rid of negative states. The brain can create, not uncreate.
Say that one more time.
The brain can create, not uncreate. You create the state you desire. You don't get rid of the state you don't want. It goes away by itself because you're not thinking about it anymore. It only exists because you're thinking about it. If you don't think about it, it's gone. How do you not think about it? You think about what you actually want. And every time you see yourself slip, you go back to what you actually want over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And just as you got into that bad state, doing that, you're going to get into the good state by undoing it.
Hmm. It makes me ask this question. Why do people dwell on the negative so much? Because it's easier from what people tell me, it's easier for a person to dwell on the negative than it is the positive. And I find that hard to understand. But when they tell me about it, it's like, oh, okay, I do understand now.
It's a
So
tough world. There's
yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of things, if you watch the news, it's a tough world. It
yeah.
isn't easy. There's a lot of things in this world we'd rather not see. And it tends to suck people down to the level of the negativity that's around them. And you have to be strong enough to realize that what's happening isn't your fault. You didn't create the problem. You could be part of the solution by changing your attitudes and your beliefs and your values and creating ones that serve you better. And as you become more capable of doing, you can do more to help those that need the help, like I'm
Mm,
doing now. I'm helping people who are in a negative state realize they don't have to be. I'm not telling you it's a magic cure. You close your eyes and think, I'm happy. And then all the depression you've had for years disappears. No, I'm saying if you keep thinking about how happy you are over and over and over and over and over and over, you're not depressed anymore because you're thinking how happy you are. It
mm,
does work, but it takes practice and repetition. And
mm,
over time, just as you put yourself in this bad state, you'll take yourself into the next state. You can do it if you choose to.
mm,
Problem is, many people don't want to make the effort to improve their lives. It's easier to complain about what's wrong than to fix it. I'm going to teach you a secret. I was teaching the Green Berets, and I said, you sometimes have bad days where the mission's going really poorly. And if you don't remember what they taught you, you could get killed. And when you're negative and depressed, you can forget what they taught you. I'm going to tell you the single most important question you can ask when you're having a problem. And this is not just for the Green Berets, it's for our audience. The single best question you can ask is, what's the next best thing I can do now? Not, why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. I deserve better. Well, probably true, but it isn't happening. And you do deserve better. So that's not going to fix it. What will fix it is look at where you are, look at where you would rather be, and ask your brain, how do I get there?
mm,
Look at where I am right now. What are my options? What choices do I have right now that I can make that'll move me a step closer to where I'd rather be? And then the brain starts looking for possible solutions. Will they all work? No. But the one that will work will be one of the choices, and you test it. And
indeed.
as you go through the test, you say, this one didn't work. I'll go to the next one. This one worked. And so, what's the next best thing I can do now is what you need to think and ask yourself when things are going awry. And they go awry for all of us. Everyone has days that aren't perfect because it's an imperfect world and there's a lot of imperfect people in it. But you don't have to be one of them. You can
Mm,
change. And this is how it's done by asking the right questions,
mhm.
focusing on the right attitudes. You can turn your life around.
Focusing on the right attitudes. The key words right there.
Right. Not
Focusing
thinking
on the
about
right.
what's wrong, but visualizing what's going to be right and seeing it is already happening. Not in the future, right now. There is no future. There is no. Einstein said time is an illusion. The only time that ever exists is now. It's
No.
now, it's still now, and it's always been now.
Mm,
Anytime you think of the past, it's now. Anytime you think of the future, it's now. Anything you do, think of time as RAM on a computer where you
mm,
actually do stuff. The only time where anything gets done is now. And so when you're depressed about the past, it's in the now. You're thinking about what happened, but it isn't happening. You're thinking about what might happen, but it isn't happening. So stop thinking about it and think about what you want to have and create the alternative. And ask the question, what's the best thing I can do now? And you'll
mm,
see amazing changes go on in your life.
mm, mm. A comment here on the chat says that it sounds like manifesting, which from your words, it is manifesting
It
because
is. And
you're
you
creating your reality.
manifested depression. It did come from someone else. You made it. You manifested anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, you're good at manifesting. How about making a state now that you actually want? You made one you don't want. Now make one you do want. I just showed you how it's done. You have a choice now. Continue down the path of pain and sorrow or go to a state of joy and happiness. You get to pick. No one can do this for you. Only you are inside your head. And you
Mm,
can make those choices
mm,
starting right now. And when you do, you'll see your life changes and the problems will go away. Not instantly, but in time, just as you didn't get in the negative state instantly either.
Our brains create.
And that's the way we use them.
Mm, mm, mm. So, have you ever sat down in front of high schoolers, for example, uh, and talked to them just how you're talking to me about how to take control of your life? Because our young adults and high schoolers need to hear something like this, Howard.
You can't. Schools are very political. Some schools will say it's woke. You can't do it. I mean, my state in Florida, they made Romeo and Juliet as pornography.
What?
Yes, you can't read it in high school. It's pornography. And Paradise Lost is pornography. They had a classical art class in high school, and they had this picture of the statue of David, which is considered the most incredible sculpture ever made by a human being. And they fired the principal and the teacher for showing pornography because you could see his private part in the picture. The statue of David has a male organ, and you can actually see it. And you're showing this to children. So they fired the principal and the art teacher for perverting children by sharing with them the finest piece of sculpture ever created by a. This is the world we live in right now. Reality is there. They're not going to let me talk like this to students. I would like to. I can do it here, and your listeners can talk to their students. They can get my book, and it's free, howiebook.fun, and they'll learn more things. But the schools right now are a political organ, depending on what state you're in. In some states, they're more progressive. In some states, like Florida, where I live, they're outlawing paradise. They made the dictionary illegal in schools. There were nasty words in the dictionary. Some very, very nasty words. What if children see them?
Mhm.
So no more dictionary. This is insane.
Yes,
But
yes.
so you're asking me if I could teach them how to reprogram their mind when the school's saying they can't look at a dictionary. What do you think the answer is?
So because your answer kind of lets me know that it sounds like our educational system now, it seems more of a trap.
It's broken. I'll show you what's wrong. I actually know the answer. My school was not based on time. In our normal school system, you go to first grade for 1 year. You go to second grade for 1 year. As long as you got a D or higher, you're promoted. So you just took addition and you got a D. You're going on to second grade. Do you want a pilot who got a D in landings, flying your plane? Do you want a surgeon who got a D in surgery, opening your chest? Of
Mm,
course not. In my school, we had one grade, A, and we didn't give them an A. They earned an A, and all our tests were essays, so you couldn't pick the right answer. You had to explain your answer and why it was the right answer. You had to think and elaborate. And I'll give you an example. One of our 10-year-olds did high school biology in 1 week. How could they do that? Here's his final 300 essays. I'll give you two essays he did. Explain the genetic code and how it works. That's one essay. What's a mitochondria? If you could answer 300 questions at that level in 1 week, you finished high school biology. We moved them by the level of learning. When you got an A, you went to the next lesson. When you got an A, you moved, and until you got an A, you stayed there. And a teacher would give you clues. We never gave them the answer. We gave them hints. So they
mm,
learned to think, and they had to figure out for themselves the right answer. Or they'll never learn to be a leader or a thinker. And so we gave them hints. Sometimes they needed a lot of hints. But until they got it right, they didn't go to the next lesson. And when they got an A, they went to the next lesson. I've had kids in high school who couldn't read, write, or count. I'm talking multiplying by 10 at 19 is impossible. I
mm.
tested them, they couldn't do it.
mm,
Uh, I gave them the answer sheet to the exam during the exam.
mm,
During the exam, and they all failed. They
mm.
couldn't read the answer sheet. And it was a true false test. And they couldn't read the answer sheet at 19 years old to a true false test. And you're asking me to teach them physics.
Oh my
That's what's going on in the schools.
trap. And it goes to this statistic that I wrote down, which goes into your point. The U.S. literacy rate for adults is approximately 79%. So that means 21% or approximately 43 million people read below a sixth grade level.
Correct. And that's being generous.
And that's being
They're
generous.
not at sixth grade. They're more like third or second grade. Yeah, sixth
That
grade is actually giving
is
them more credit than they
incredible.
deserve. I saw it. I'm telling you, I gave them the answer sheet during the test. They failed it anyway. How much more could I do? I gave them the answer sheet. They couldn't read the answer sheet to answer and these are 19-year-olds doing a true false test. And here's the worst part, they left it blank. I told them
Mm,
before the test, you always guess on true false. You got a 50-50 chance. You either right or you're wrong. You never leave it blank. And they left it blank after I showed them not
mm.
to leave it blank. How much more could I have done? And I went over all the questions the night before, the day before, to reframe it and bring it back to their awareness, and then gave them the answer sheet, and they still
Still
failed.
got
They still failed. I'm not talking one or two. The whole class failed.
mm, mm,
Everybody.
mm, mm, mm,
How are you supposed to teach at the 10th grade level to people with second grade learning skills?
mm.
That's the school system today.
Where do you think that problem came from, though, Howard? And I know I'm
Politics.
beating the dead horse, but I'm curious because I love talking about these particular issues because it needs to be addressed. And in somebody, an elephant in the room needs. This is an elephant in the room discussion for real. So where where did this come from? I mean, is it a lack of
Politics.
interest in the?
Politics. Parents, why didn't my son go to the next grade? Why isn't my son being put into the next grade? Because your son doesn't know anything. He can't read, write, or count. And we're teaching him to read, write, and count before we put him in the next grade. That's the right answer. We're trying to get them to a level where they can think. And
Mm,
the schools don't care. If you want a 19-year-old in second grade,
mm,
that's what you'll have. So what we need to do is we need to focus on the students that are struggling and mentor them one-on-one to the next level. And then the kids that don't need the help, let them fly.
yeah,
They
yeah,
can do it. They don't
yeah.
need the help. But the ones that need the help, we need to mentor them. They're not going to learn this by themselves because they're not learning it. And you
Mm,
got to stop pushing them to the next level when they can't do the one they're on. And
mm,
then they reach a point where they can't do anything. After fourth grade, if you can't read, you're in trouble. Up until third grade, you're learning to read. So the teacher teaches you science. The teacher teaches you his fourth grade and on, you're
mm,
reading history books, you're reading science books. What if you can't read? You're not learning history, you're not learning science, you're not learning anything. And they keep doing it over and over, and they just pushed them up. Well, they left him back for a year. That's it. We got to push him now to the next one because he'll be too old. He's not ready.
and I would say that it also affects their self-esteem, which makes it worse
Oh,
because
yes.
they're not, they know that they have limitations to their learning capacity.
And they get
But
angry.
yes,
And I
yes,
saw crazy
yes.
crap. Can I don't know how edgy can I go?
Go deep, man.
Okay.
Let's get the shovel. Let's start digging.
My assistant, this is a real story. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna tell you the real thing. So I'm teaching in a school where everybody is a minority and the teachers are getting killed. And the assistant principal says, before you go in there, if you can't handle that class, they could kill you. That's the last thing he says to me. I go in the room and a kid that's enormous, it's like Shaq. He's big, really big. He pushes me in the corner next to the blackboard. I'm looking at his neck. I'm about 5'6", he's about 6'7". I'm looking at his neck and he looks at me and I won't use the word he used, but he said, "You're a white mother trucker and I don't like you." And I
Hmm.
looked him in the eye and I said, "Who you calling white?" He totally cracked up. I like this guy. He's funny. And he never gave me another problem. And the whole time I was there, when anyone was talking during class, he'd say, "You be quiet when Mr. Berg's teaching." I didn't confront him. I didn't disrespect him. I made him laugh
Hmm.
and I made him feel good. And we shared that moment together. And he knew that I wasn't there to hurt him and I wasn't there to intimidate him and I wasn't there to talk down to him. And I never did that to them. Even the ones that couldn't do anything, I talked to them respect because they deserved that. And they liked that. And I helped them the best I could with all the skills that were missing, the best I could. But they liked me. I wasn't intimidating them. I made them laugh. I made them feel good. I made them want to come to class because it was interesting and it was fun. And I made it about them. And I made it, this is why we're learning this. Now, go learn all this stuff. Here's why you're learning it. This is what it'll do in your life. This is why you want to know it. Some of you are going to have kids. You're going to want to know what to feed them. This is nutrition. You don't want your kids getting sick. You need to know what foods they need to have, and you need to be eating right. So let's see what that means. Let's see what we can figure out about eating right. And I would tell them jokes like, here's a good joke. Mushroom walks in a bar. Bartender says, "Get out. We don't serve your kind." I said, "Why not? I'm a fun guy." And that's why, and that's the joke the mushroom told them. "I'm a fun
Hmm.
guy. Why can't I come in?" So they laugh. And I said, "That's why biologists don't do comedy." And that's what I would do. And they would laugh and we'd have fun. And then I'd show them something that they actually need to know. And because they're laughing and having fun, their brains want to learn what you're showing them because it feels good. You want to remember what made you feel that way instead of making them feel worse.
Yeah.
I went down to their level where they
Right.
were.
Yeah.
Wasn't what I
Yeah.
wanted them to be, but that's where they were. And I work on their level and try to bring them up a notch.
Hmm.
Every notch I can bring them up is a notch better than where they were. I was
Hmm.
realistic. I'm not going to take someone who can't multiply by 10 and make them a math genius in one semester. It's not going to happen. But I
Yeah.
can make them more competent than they were when they walked in
Indeed. And more confident in themselves.
and more confident. And that's what I did. And that's what teaching should do. I call it edutainment. You
Mm-hmm.
need to be as entertaining as you are helping learning. The teachers that made you have fun, you couldn't wait to go. The ones that were boring, it's like, "God help me, when's the bell gonna ring? Someone kill me." And it feels like every second is an hour. And you've been there and I've been there. And we all had those teachers. I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be the one where they brought their friends to class. 'Cause this guy's
Hmm.
funny. This guy's interesting. This
This guy's
guy's
a comedian.
exactly. I helped launch Comedy Central with Dennis Leary in the
Mm.
early 90s, and I was
Yeah.
Jon Stewart's first guest on TV because I
Yeah.
learned comedy. And I also learned this is important as a teacher in a violent school where there were gunshots and knife fights. As long as they were laughing, they wouldn't kill me.
Indeed. And there's a comment that here that said that basically says what we were saying, that you didn't dehumanize them. And
No,
I think that that's important, Howard, because these kids, they don't know you from a can of paint.
that's why
So
that kid did that to me. It's his way. I'm the alpha male here. Who the hell do you think you are? That was what he was really doing. And I was like, I don't give a crap. I'm not here. I basically saying, I don't want to be here any more than you do, but I need a job
right,
and I need
right,
to make
right.
money. You don't want to be, but you need a degree. I says, so why not we agree? We're not going to make each other miserable. I'm going to do what I can to make a living and do what I can to make sure you get a degree. And we can make it so both of us win. I'm
Mm,
not here to boss you around and make you feel like an idiot. I'm here to make you smarter than you came in and maybe give you some information that'll make your life better. That's it. and that's honest. I didn't want to be there either. I wanted to start my own company, and I needed the money from teaching to be able to start my own company. So
Yeah.
after school, at 3 o'clock, I can go to work for myself, which is right in the beginning of the day. Where any other job, you get home at 6 o'clock and you're tired.
Hmm.
And that was the best job I could think of to do what I wanted to do. But if
Yeah.
I'm going to be there, I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it so that the people I'm helping are being helped.
And what's more alarming about everything that you said is that you're talking then. I can't even imagine what's going on now.
That was
Because
the 80s. That was the 80s.
yeah, yeah, the 80s, 90s. So I mean, it's pretty much the
Gotten
same.
worse. It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
I did work in, I'll give you one school. It was in Oklahoma. It was White Beach, Oklahoma. The school district was in a cow pasture. In all sides of the school, there were cows grazing. The building was on the pasture, and the cows were right next to the building. Okay, I trained the teachers on how to teach learning and understanding and make it easier to learn. They won an award from the Department of Education as one of the top 10 schools in America because the students' grades went through the roof because they were using what I showed them to make learning easier for students to learn. And this is a school in the middle of nowhere, absolutely in the middle of nowhere, in the top 10 schools in America, because they were using my system in their school. And I would
Mm,
love to do it in more schools, but I've learned I had schools where I volunteered to do it for free. And they wouldn't even let me talk for free
mm,
and have the world record. I've been on 3,000 shows. I've written books for Time Warner and Barron's for students. They didn't care. No, you
mm,
can't teach our students. So I've learned the way to do it is to do my own business and
mm.
give away a free book and then tell people about the classes I teach that help them and their kids. Because the adult needs to learn to make a living, but the child needs to learn to be able to get through school. The difference is what they read. The adult's reading a marketing book or a spreadsheet, the child's reading history or biology. But reading is reading, memory is memory, studying is studying. What's different is what you learn, not how it's done. So parents can do this with their kids as a family, which is
That's another
even
pro.
better because there's so few things today you can do that with. And it makes me feel good that I'm helping people get better. I had a special ed student. She had third grade reading in ninth grade, and they were putting her in special ed in high school, which is the kiss of death. They basically say, you'll get to say welcome to Walmart one day if you really listen. You'll learn to brush your
It's
teeth
that.
and tie your own shoes. And if you really pay attention, you'll be able to button your jacket just like a big girl. And the kid and the mother were hysterical. They came to my school like, what are we going to do? We worked with her and we told the mother the truth. You're gonna have to work really hard because she's way behind. And you're gonna have to listen to your mother and us to get where you need. Here's what happened. So she finishes high school and 2 years of college with a 4.0. When the students at high school she started got out of high school. She did 4 years of high school and 2 years of college before they finished high school. Got a full scholarship to Baylor, finished her bachelor's, A average, master's degree at 22
Mm,
because we told her how to learn and she listened.
mm-hmm.
She read like she saw United States of America as four words, not as a country. It was United and States and of and America. A hot dog was hot and it was a dog. It wasn't a food. She didn't know how to put the words together
Mm,
as a grouping. She saw each word in the sentence as its own word. And she
mm.
was reading poorly as a result. No one ever figured it out. We figured it out. We showed her what to do. We fixed it. And then she had a master's degree. She wasn't
Nice.
stupid, but you know why they don't do that in school? They make more money on special ed.
Oh.
Thousands more. And
Uh-huh.
another thing you don't hear, and if it's a
Uh-huh.
minority, they get even thousands more on top of the thousands more. That's why there's so many of them in special ed. It's money. And
Money.
there's no incentive to take them out of that program because it brings in
Oh,
tons and tons of special funding.
you just
That's
dropped
why they're
you
doing it.
you just
They
dropped
won't
a
tell you that. I was
huge
there. I know that's what they're doing.
mm, mm. You just dropped a huge nugget, brother.
That's
Because
the reality.
man,
And you go to a school and you'll see it's loaded
mm,
with minorities and special ed because they're
mm.
making a lot more money and they can use that money for other things they need. And
And
it's a
not
business.
necessarily educating the kids.
It's a business, and the business wants to make more money.
Wow. Wow. I'm a little stunned at all this because this is all news to, I mean, I knew that, the education game is just a game, but I didn't know that it was that devious.
I told you the kid couldn't read or write, and I went to the head of guidance, and he got mad at me for asking him to help because we're getting paid anyway. Why
Yes.
would I help him? Why
Mm,
would I help him? We're getting paid. We're going to get rid of him. You help
mm.
him because he needs help. That's the reason you have
That's
a job. You're the head of guidance. You're supposed to help him. I
supposed to
shouldn't
help.
have to ask.
No, wow. That is
And he got angry at me. Who the hell was I to tell him how to do his job?
okay.
Well, he wasn't doing his
He
job.
wasn't doing his job.
No, but I was the bad one because I said he should help the kid. I'm the bad one. Maybe you should help him. He's here every day and he needs help. Why? We're getting paid anyway. We're throwing him out in 6 months. It's not our problem. That was the attitude from the person whose job it was to help him. That's why I quit the school system and started my own business.
And we've talked about the emotional aspect of things as to how kids in particular the high schoolers, with the lack of education and the lack of self-esteem. I mean, it comes with the anger, the aggression, the
Yeah,
depression.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, how can we help these kids build their emotional intelligence?
I
Because
had that in my pro two
that's going
hours.
to carry them to their adulthood, Howard.
I spend 2 hours on just that. Can I show you one method?
Go for it.
Okay, not for you and me, because if I stand up, you'll see my navel and my microphone will be too low. For those watching, stand up for this one exercise. I'm going to show you how to instantly wake up when you're tired. Kids can use this when they're taking tests or they're falling asleep in class. You could use it at work. While you're standing, remember the left brain controls the right and the right controls the left. Take your left hand, like I'm saying, touch your right shoulder. Do it. Don't watch, do it. Take your right hand, touch your left shoulder, and alternate left to right, right to left. It's like the Macarena without the
Yeah,
music. Now
right.
we're going to, standing, touch your left hand to your right knee and your right hand to your left knee. And if you're standing, your knee's going to move. So both sides of your brain are doing something. Now grab your thumb in your hand like I am and raise it up and say this like you mean it. I feel great. Yes, not I feel great, because that's how you'll feel. I feel great. Yes. We'll do 3 sets of these, starting with the shoulder tap. Slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Knees. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. A little faster this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. This time as fast as you can go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel? I feel great. Yes. Feel great. Smile. Sit down. You know what happens when you do this 3 times? Nothing. You probably would want something. So let me explain how to do that. Remember Pavlov? He rang a bell, he fed a dog. He rang a bell, he fed a dog. Eventually, when he rang the bell, the dog drooled. You don't want to drool. What you did is you stimulated the left, the right, and then both together, faster and faster and faster. And every
Uh-huh.
time you did that and stimulated your brain, you grabbed your thumb and said, I feel great. Yes, that's your bell. You do this every day for 90 days because it takes 90 days to make a habit. Now your student is bored or tired in school or you're dropping at work. Grab your thumb and say to yourself, I feel great, yes. And your brain's going to remember every time you did that, you felt great and you wake up and you just change the state. And in the same way, I could teach students to stay calm, to focus, to get rid of their anger, their frustration by creating states and showing them how to trigger the state when they need to use it. So that answers your question. This is just one example of many, and I have in my full program. I'm not trying to sell today, I'm trying to help. That's why I go to howiebook.fun to get started for free. And then I could keep you aware when I do free workshops online. And eventually, hopefully, you'll say, I like what this guy does. I think my kid could benefit from really learning his system. You'll get the whole system. But first,
Indeed.
I want you to get to know me and like me and trust me and know that I can actually do what I'm promising. And
Indeed.
that's why I give away a free book so people can see this is for real. It does work.
Indeed. Howard, how can people contact you?
howiebook.fun. I'll give you
Mhm.
my email. It's Mr. Reader, mrreader, no spaces. MR, which is Mr. no space,
Right.
Reader, reader, at MSN, which is Microsoft Network.com. And you can email me and I'll answer your questions. And I'll tell you what, if you really want, I would even give you a 30-minute free consultation for you and your kid to see if what I do is a good fit for you and find out what's going on and what things I might need to do to make their lives better. Because that's what it's about. If the people who have the answers to the problems don't do their best to fix the problems, we aren't going to have a world. And
Mm.
that's unfortunately the truth. And we're headed in a very dark direction in this world, not just this country, but in the world. I'm trying to change it. I'd like to think if more people are smarter and read, I read 30,000 books. If more people read more and understand better and
Mm.
remember it and
Mhm.
can use it and make better choices and have better incomes and their kids get better grades and get better positions, that could change everything. So I can't change everything, but I can give people that gift that they, together with all the other people, can change everything for the better and have a better world. And I'm a grandparent and I'm really concerned about the future that our youngsters are going to have. And I'd like to think that what I'm doing today is a step towards fixing that and helping make it better.
Howard Berg, thank you so much for taking the time to come on my show and talk to me about your organization. And I wish nothing but the best. And please continue to do the good work, sir, because you dropped a lot of gems, right? And I got the assignment for real because education is not some blasé thing that a kid should do because they have to do it. It's necessary.
They should be
And
on fire. They should get out of school praying they can go right back to learning. How many people get out of college praying, I never read another book again or take
yeah,
another?
yeah,
That's college. What's
we,
going on when we destroy people's love of learning in
right,
college?
right. Hell, we destroyed their learning in grade school.
Thank you. Well, you know, little kids from
It's
like age
over.
1 to 4 never shut up. Why? By the time they get out of high school, public speaking is a greater fear than death.
Mm,
Because they're humiliated over and over and over in school, and they've learned that if you make a mistake, you look stupid. And
yeah,
no one wants to look stupid, so they keep their mouth shut and they never reach their full potential.
mm, you're right on that. Another gem dropped.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Speak Your Truth with Mark Ross podcast. Remember, guys, it's okay to not be okay, but just do something about it. With that being said, Howard, you have a good rest of your evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you do the same. Take care, Howard.